The entrepreneurs are always driven by tomorrow and the vision of where I want to take this business.
Right.
And that is critical. And I would never say that that's spend less time on that. That's actually very important.
Right.
However, in the world that I live in, which is traditional lending, I always have to use last year's tax returns to underwrite. So it's important for me to understand where you want to take this business, because the critical part of what I do is to ensure that I provide the right tools for the client to take the business where they want to go.
Right.
So if I don't understand where they're going to go, and understand that, hey, they may need $1 million today, but they're going to need $3 million a year from now.
Right.
I may not structure my credit facilities correctly to help them get where they want to get with the right type of
down the road. Yeah.
That's right. So it's critical that we understand where they're going and what it's going to take there. But at the end of the day, if I'm not using my SBA partner, I have to use last year's tax returns to underwrite. And that's the part that sometimes it gets a little hard with talking to entrepreneurs that are saying, but I just won this contract. I'm going to do $2 million with this new client next year.
Right.
That's great, but that's next year. But where were you? How did you file your last year's returns? And what do those show? Because that's what traditional underwriting has to use.
Right.
So we are a bank. We are heavily regulated, just like the whole industry is. So in the world that I live in, I have to use historical financials to support lending needs, while the SBA group is allowed to use projections. And that's where they can really add value by somebody either buying a competitor or doing a massive expansion. And they can say, well, okay, what are you going to look like once you accomplish that? Provide us some projections for the next 12, 24, 36 months.
Right.
And let's see if we can use those to fund everything you're going to need, versus being hamstrung by what did you do last year.
Are there any upsides or downsides to using SBA versus any other kind of loan?
So the upside is they can stretch unsecured debt without hard collateral over 10 years.
Okay.
So that makes the affordability a lot greater. So if you're trying to borrow $2 million because you need to build out a building and hire 20 more people, and you're going to do all these great things in the future, but you can't afford to pay it back in a short amount of time, and you don't really have collateral, then SBA is the only answer.
Gotcha.
On the flip side of it, if you're buying a building and you need working capital to finance conversion of receivables and inventory to cash that's on your balance sheet today, and you may need equipment, but you can afford a payment over 5 years for that equipment, then not using the SBA is a lot cheaper and faster than the SBA, because the SBA process is still relatively time-consuming. You're still looking at 2 to 3 weeks of underwriting time, while what we take pride in is less than a week.
Okay.
So the part where I blow away the competition is from the time that I get the financials I need to the time that I can get an approval or at least a green light from credit is usually no more than 5 to 7 business days.